Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high-performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. Today's guest is someone I've wanted on the show because his work sits right at the intersection of elite performance and the part of success that most people never talk about, the subconscious. So Stuart Wade is a high-performance mindset coach, clinical hypnotherapist, and lifelong martial artist. He went from being a shy 6-year-old inspired by Bruce Lee to becoming a 4-time world champion, a 5th dan black belt in Taekwondo, and a 2nd dan in kickboxing. But what makes Stuart's story so compelling isn't just the titles. It's that his biggest breakthroughs came when fear, fatigue, and internal pressure started quietly eroding his edge, and he realized that the real battle wasn't on the mat, but in the mind. Today, Stuart worked with high-achieving entrepreneurs, executives, and elite performers who look successful on the outside, but internally feel like they're carrying an invisible weight. So if you've ever wondered why you can be disciplined, ambitious, and smart, but still feel stuck, exhausted, and like something is missing, this episode is for you. Welcome, Stuart, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you for having me, Claudia. That was quite an introduction. I'll do my best to live up to it.
Well, it's your bio. So, I'm sure we can let you shine. Now, as I said, you have achieved world-class results in martial arts, and you now coach high performance. But what was the real turning point in your life where you realized this isn't about technique anymore, it's about the mind? Can you walk us through what happened?
Yes, absolutely. The first iteration of this idea of it being within the mind was actually when I was 8 years old, funnily enough. And as you mentioned there, I started training in martial arts at a very young age, progressed through the ranks. And when I came to my first black belt test, I had been told by my coaches beforehand that I would walk it. So I went in full of confidence, maybe overconfident, thinking that I was just going to do this easy. It was going to be a breeze. I can't honestly remember, but it's a possibility. And as it transpired, it was a very difficult grading that day. The panel of Korean masters and grandmasters that had flown in from Korea for the grading were particularly harsh. And of the 50 or so students from all the different clubs in my area that traveled to the south of England for the grading, only 3 passed.
Ooh.
And there was, a few hundred others from elsewhere in the country as well, but the pass rate wasn't good that day. And unfortunately, I was one of the ones that failed. And I was absolutely heartbroken. And once I'd gotten over that initial shock and the initial heartbreak of it, it really lit a fire within me. And I don't know where it came from, but I just made the decision at that time that I never wanted to feel that way again. I never wanted to feel that disappointment and heartbreak again. Mm-hmm. And I'm very glad to say that I never have in that context, in the grading context. I never failed another one. That was the first iteration, but then the second biggest one was when I was 15. And I'd been competing internationally for a couple of years at this point, representing Great Britain and England in various international tournaments around the world with mixed results. And around this time, I was getting into the personal development world. I had a bunch of books by Tony Robbins and other people like that. And so I was getting interested in that kind of world, let's say. And I started doing a visualization practice before I would go to compete. I would take myself off somewhere quiet and I would sit or kneel down, close my eyes, and I would imagine and visualize with as much detail as I could what I wanted to do out there. And it would be twofold, typically. I would visualize myself standing atop the podium with the national anthem playing, with the medal around my neck. But then I would also do the mental rehearsal side of things, to where I would actually go through the techniques that I wanted to employ out there. And once I started doing this and making it a part of my routine pre-competition, I found that it just really put me in the zone to give my best performance. And the results didn't always go my way, obviously, but 99 times out of 100, I felt that I was able to give my best when I went through this routine. And so that was the first big, for lack of a better term, punch me in the face moment, where like, wow, what's going on in the mind is so powerful. And we all have that within us. So that was the first real moment that opened my eyes. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And thank you so much for sharing. And it really sounds to me like there are two very different things that you were talking about. The first one sounded like that there's this fear of failure that's really driving you, like more of a fear-based drive. And the second one is more like something that's drawing you, like to succeed. So it's kind of like the both sides, right? Something is pushing you and something is drawing you in. So what do you feel more like at this moment in your life?
It's a good question. And you're absolutely right. The first iteration, when I was very young, it was that fear. Like, I never want to feel this way again. It's so horrible. And that was the drive at that point. But then later on, it became more aspirational. Exactly. Like you said, I'm being pulled towards the success rather than running away from the fear. And so I think, in all honesty, I think both have a place. But the aspirational side of it, where we're being pulled towards what we want, is bringing a better energy source into it, because, as you said, we're not fearful at that point. We're pushing for success, and we're pushing for something with positive intention rather than fear. We're going towards rather than away from. And so I think that's the better way to do it. But until you can do that, I think the fear one can be utilized, you know?
Yeah, I agree. But as you said, if you're drawn to something, you're usually more open in the way that you approach things, right? So it might be easier to navigate the situation rather than fear often makes you shut down. So you might not have all the inspiration that you need at the moment to maybe, overcome a challenge. Now, if you are confronted with failure today as a coach, how do you deliberately use this as a tool instead of letting it become an identity damage, for instance?
Okay, that's a good question. The first thing after the initial shock, because, you know, we're emotional beings, so sometimes we get blindsided, and once that initial shock has passed, the thought that I have is, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I reframe this perceived failure and transmute the outcome into something positive? How can I redirect my aim and my focus going forwards? Rather than dwelling on it and internalizing it and making it some kind of internal narrative about me and how I'm not good enough, and all those little automatic negative thoughts that just love to creep up on us at these times, rather than feeding into that, catch it quick, have the awareness that it's no commentary on me or my skills or whatever it is right now, and apply the reframe. And sometimes I'll write that down. I'll write down the thoughts that are going around in my head, get them out of my head and onto paper, and judge them objectively. Is that automatic negative thought or that limiting belief that's crept up from my subconscious, is that valid? Yes. Okay. What can I do about it? If no, okay, great. What can I do about it? How can I reframe that? And I'll make some notes and I'll redirect my focus to doing something different next time.
Yeah, I think it's so cliche, but it's still true that the only real failure is not learning from those data points, right?
Yeah, that's right. One of the people who I've looked up to for a little while, who some of your listeners who maybe are interested in mixed martial arts will probably know of this guy. So a number of years ago, Conor McGregor was a big name when he was on the rise in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And his coach was a guy called John Kavanagh. And he wrote a book entitled We Win or We Learn. Oh, yeah. And that is it in a nutshell. Like you said there's no failure. It's a learning opportunity. And that's very much the lens that we have to learn to apply in situations where we might get some pushback or some obstacles or perceived failures.
Yeah, it does not feel like it in the beginning. And as you said, we're emotional creatures and we have to give ourselves some grace there and maybe wallow in it for the moment and then switch. Because that's the other thing. When we start to go to positivity straight away and we suppress the feelings, they come back to bite us in the ass, right? At some point. That's where the subconscious comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, if we and in Britain here, we're very much taught from a young age, have a stiff upper lip and don't show your emotions, don't express them, just bottle it up, push it down. But then, as you said there, Claudia, it's going to resurface at some point, and it's probably going to be a volcanic eruption at that point. Something is going to snap and it's all going to come out. And so, yeah, having that expression in the moment and also having that understanding of ourselves subconsciously as well. What has gone on in my life that may be informing this narrative, and having some self-awareness in that context as well, and maybe doing some work to unravel some of those limiting beliefs or some of the negative programming that we may have picked up inadvertently when we were very young, because that can feed into these things if we're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And awareness is always the first step. And that's why coaching, I guess, can be so helpful, right? Because we can show people where those mindset blocks are. And oftentimes people are not aware, right? Is that your experience as well?
Absolutely. When you're in the thick of whatever the experience is, it's almost like you have blinkers on, like a racehorse. You're so hyper focused on what that issue is that you're almost closed off to potential other opportunities or ways around it. And like you say, as coaches, our job there is to shine the light on those blind spots and help to take the blinkers off our clients and help them to see the full lay of the land, the full picture. And that then will start to help them reframe and refocus on how they can move forward.
Totally agree. Now it's clear to me from your bio and also from all the awards behind you that you are a very driven person. In your opinion, what's the difference between healthy obsession and self-destructive pressure? And how do you spot it early before it costs you your health or relationships?
That's a really good question. As far as I'm concerned, the basis of the unhealthy obsession versus the positive obsession, if you like, is how it affects our lives as a whole. Okay, and by that I mean, are we still making time for the people that we love? Are we still able to be present with them? Or are we all consumed with that particular thing that we're after? If it's a physical pursuit, and this is an easy example to give that people can relate to, are we training through an injury? You know, if I have a particular weight loss goal, let's say, for example, as so many business owners will appreciate, if they're driven in the business, right, I want to lose weight as well, I'm going to the gym outside of my work hours, but they pick up an injury. And are they going to keep going because they are obsessed unhealthily with achieving that particular weight loss goal or whatever it is? If it's a business goal, are they putting in all the hours that God sends and neglecting the people around them, their family, and having that work-life balance? Which again can be a bit of a misnomer, because if you are striving in business, there's going to be a little bit imbalance going on. But if it is all consuming and we're neglecting other areas of our life and our health, we're not eating healthily, we're not nurturing our relationships, etc., not getting enough sleep, that's the unhealthy side of things. We want to have that drive and that purpose moving forwards, but it needs to be tempered by having fulfilling areas outside of it as well. And that's, for me, that's the key differentiation there.
Yeah, I think often it helps to look at it and think in cycles. So it doesn't have to balance like 50-50 or anything, because sometimes you have a launch or anything. So that takes a lot of focus and energy, but then you need another cycle where you focus more on family or exercise or whatever it is. So as long as you're in just one cycle, I think that's a pretty good indicator something has gone off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, you know, we go through seasons in, you know, on Earth. We go through winter, spring, summer, and autumn, because the different seasons have a different role to play. And it's exactly the same in our lives and our businesses. We have the seasons when we want to push and really make things happen. But then we also need the downtime. We need to recover and focus on other areas as well.
And I mean, a lot of people say, I want $1 million business, but subconsciously they are afraid of, say, visibility, responsibility, or even just outgrowing their identity and then alienating their loved ones. What is the most common subconscious fears that you see when someone is about to scale?
That's a great question. And in my experience, it comes down to the limiting belief that we're not enough. And it ties back into what we talked about at the start then. It's that subconscious fear that I'm not good enough as I am, so I need to make this successful in order to feel like I'm worthy, feel like I get the external validation from other people that I've done something. But conversely, as you said there, Claudia, as well, that also can have ramifications in that we might alienate the people around us and the support network that we already have. And so it's a real double-edged sword, and it's something that needs to be contended with early on. What are the motivations for me doing this? Is it a self-esteem issue? Do I need to address some of these limiting beliefs first and then take a more balanced approach going forward towards the goal? And I can't answer that for everyone. It's very individualized, but it's definitely worth doing some self-inquiry before embarking on something like this to get the right motivation.
Yeah. And I want to talk about hypnosis in a non-woo way. So what's the biggest misconception that people have about hypnosis, especially maybe those high achievers who might be skeptical?
Yeah, of course. The biggest misconception is that, well, it's twofold. One, that it's mind control, and the person who is under hypnosis is completely susceptible to the mind control of the person leading them through the experience. And then secondly, that it's just a stage gimmick and they're going to be clucking like a chicken or dancing like Elvis on a stage and what have you. And while it is a legitimate thing, it's not a gimmick, but that's not the purpose of the work that I do. It's very much about reprogramming the subconscious and overcoming what may be holding someone back.
Yeah, I found it to be really helpful, and I've also used that with clients, and they found it really helpful too. Now, from a brain and nervous system perspective, what's actually happening during clinical hypnotherapy that makes it different from just positive thinking or journaling?
Yeah, of course. So the first thing is activating the parasympathetic nervous system. As we go about our day-to-day business and we're dealing with day-to-day stressors and what have you, we are potentially in a sympathetic drive state. We're dealing with things as they crop up. We have thoughts popping in and out of our heads all the time. We're very much, especially if we're a business owner as well, we're putting out fires, we're dealing with problems, dealing with people. And so we're switched on all the time to deal with potential perceived threats. The first thing that we do in hypnosis is to calm that down. And I do that with my clients to get them to focus on the breath, particularly breathing more deeply, but with a focus on elongating the exhale to tell the parasympathetic nervous system that we are safe. There's nowhere else to be. Nothing needs our attention right now other than to be present and to be relaxed. And so that's the first thing. But then also in accordance with that, we are slowing down our brain waves from the beta brainwave state, getting into alpha, where we're a little bit more creative. We're aware of what's going on around us, but we're not distracted by it. Our attention isn't pulled away from the experience and being present. And then as we get deeper into the session and the brainwaves continue to slow, we then enter into the theta brainwave state, which is where the magic happens, where the conscious mind is essentially switched off at this point, and we can talk directly to the subconscious and fire and wire some new neural pathways in the brain and the body.
Love it. Now let's keep making this practical, because everyone loves a tool set. So you said that you discovered visualization at the age of 16, I guess it was, and it changed your performance. Can you share your best protocol for effective visualization?
Absolutely. The first thing would be what I mentioned just there with the breath, because when we are able to just calm the nervous system down a little bit to begin with, we're focusing our attention more internally than externally. So you want to be somewhere where you can be comfortable and unbothered, for lack of a better term, by things around you. And you don't want to be driving or operating heavy machinery. So make sure that you are somewhere where you can just sit with your eyes closed for a few minutes. You don't need to do it with your eyes closed, though, but it is helpful because our visual sphere is so strong that it's very easy to get distracted if we try and do it with eyes open. So closing the eyes, slowly, slowing the breath down to calm the nervous system a little bit is the first step. From there, I want to think about the intention that I've got going into this. What am I wanting to focus on? Because with the visualization, and there are different ways of doing it, but at the very basic level, I want to focus on the positive outcome, the positive thing that I want to achieve. And once I've got that set in my mind, I'm then going to try and picture it, use that powerful imagination and try and picture it. Make the image as clear and strong as possible in the mind. So as you and I are speaking now on this podcast, Claudia, we can see each other on our computer screens, but we can also see in our peripheral vision everything that's going on outside and around the computer screen. And so we want to incorporate that into the visualization. see what's at the focal point, but also put some detail into what's around and make the image fill up the entire field of view. Because our brains don't fully know the difference between what's going on in here and what's going on out there. So if we can make it as real as possible in our mind, it's so much easier then for the brain to accept this reality. And once we've gotten to grips with the visions, or rather the visuals, then we want to make sure we can incorporate some of our other senses too. Are there any positive sounds that I can hear? Turn up the volume on the positive sounds, make them more prevalent in your awareness. Then turn the attention to physical sensations, things like the temperature, if there's any breeze present, even the feeling of the clothing that you might be wearing on your skin. We can even bring in the olfactory and gustatory senses as well. What can I smell in that place? What can I taste in that place? And most importantly, how am I feeling inside? Now that I'm in this place, looking through my eyes in my mind, so to speak, I've still got my eyes closed, but I'm looking as if I was looking through my eyes. How good am I feeling in this moment? I'm doing this thing that I've really wanted to do for such a long time. How confident, how happy, how powerful do I feel in this moment? And amplify those feelings, because we're in the realm where anything's possible at this point. The real world is out there. That's put to one side. For now, we want to make this big, audacious thing as real as possible in our mind. And we want to associate all these positive, powerful feelings with it, because that's going to anchor into our nervous system and our subconscious to help pull us forwards towards that big vision.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really think incorporating all those senses is key here. But that said, I think something that some people can get hung up on is that some people are not able to see things in their mind. I think there's a condition. What is it called? Aphantasia. Yeah, that's the one. So they can't really see things in their mind. So should they just focus on all the other senses, or how would you approach that?
Absolutely. And I had a client like this recently, actually. And funnily enough, with the practice, she was able to better develop the visuals as well. But when we first started, she couldn't do it. And so my question to her then is, okay, so what resonates more with you? Are you more of an auditory person? Are you more kinesthetic in terms of either the physical sensations and or the internal feelings, the emotions? You know, it's most likely going to be visuals, auditory, or kinesthetic. There's some people that really resonate with the smells and the tastes, but for her, it was the feelings. It was the positive emotions. She could really feel that within her body. And so, to your point, Claudia, exactly. Focus on the thing that resonates with you the most. Amplify those things. And so I would change my language then to those feelings. How do you feel? What is the feeling? How can you make that stronger? And go from there. And as I say, with practice, the other senses may improve, they may not, but it doesn't matter. Whatever resonates with a person the most is what they should focus on.
Totally agree. Now I've got another question for you. Do you believe, let's start like this. Do you believe that some people are really just addicted to stress because it gives them some sort of structure, identity, control, however you want to call it? Do you think that's quite often the case for people you work with?
I do. Yeah, I do. And depending on who, in terms of science that you follow, I hear different things, but some scientists in this sort of field do talk about stress actually being addictive, and the hormones of stress, the cortisol, the adrenaline that we get coursing through our body when we're stressed, it can be a bit addictive. Those catecholamines can really draw us in. And so, yes, some people do have a bit of an addiction to those feelings, and it can be a little bit tricky sometimes to take them away from that. And so it may be a bit more of a regression to begin with, rather than, for example, getting them to sit down and close their eyes and focus on their breathing, they may not resonate with that. And so it could be a different approach, more of an active, waking hypnosis, to where they're on an exercise bike in the gym, for example, a stationary bike with their eyes open and they're pedaling. And whilst they're on there, engaging their imagination that way to almost, so they're using some of that stress in a positive way, but also getting the subconscious feedback that we need to get the positive effect.
Yeah, you need that outlet for all the energy, right? So
exactly.
I'm always curious, what is your personal stack of high performance habits look like? So can you walk us through a typical day and share your non-negotiables with us?
Yeah, absolutely. My non-negotiables begin first thing when I wake up in the morning, and one of, if not the first thing that I will do is some self-hypnosis. Sometimes I will, and it's not ideal because I'm looking at the phone straight away. I wouldn't do that if I could help it, but I have some recordings that I've recorded myself that I store on my phone. And so I will put my earbuds in and I will play the recording that I've made for myself with some binaural beats. And I will sit or lie down in my bed with my eyes closed, and I will take myself into that hypnotic state and allow that subconscious programming to happen at that point. Because as we come out of sleep, we're transitioning through those brainwave states. And so it's a perfect time to program the subconscious while we're moving from delta through theta, alpha into beta. That's the first thing that I do that's a non-negotiable. And the second thing that I'll do is exercise, and training is a big part of my life. And that's how I like to start my day. So I will then do some stretching, do some foam rolling, move the body, as well as getting hydrated. I'll try and drink probably 500 milliliters of water fairly soon after I've gotten out of bed to make sure that I'm hydrated. I would go outside and get some sunlight if it was here in the UK, but that's a little bit tricky. It doesn't happen very often, not even in summer. But that would be something, but it's not all the time. So stretching and then exercise. That's how I start my day. And that I find that really primes my brain and my nervous system to have a good day going forwards with work and with clients and everything else that I'm doing then.
Yeah, totally relate to that. Now, let's talk about where you're going with all of this. So if we fast forward a year and your mission is going exactly according to plan, what does success look and feel like?
Yeah. In all honesty, I would be doing the same thing I'm doing now with the clients that I have. I work very closely with a very select few clients, and sometimes I'll travel to see them as well. And that aspect wouldn't change because I love working one-to-one with people like that. But in a year's time, I want to be helping more people. I want to be speaking on more stages. I've been doing some public speaking, and so that's building up a little bit. That's something else to, again, get the message out and help more people. I'm going to have my book written, made a start on it, but it's nowhere near there yet. So in a year, I'd hope to have that out there as well, so that, again, my one-to-one time with my clients is really productive, but then I can also help other people as well and really spread the message to the wider world, because there's so much stress, so much anxiety and negative messages out there in the media, and it's a bit of a battle. And so I want to help share the message that the same way that you're doing, Claudia, that there are things we can do. There's another way. We don't just have to be in this state of stress and anxiety that we often get fed so frequently. Yeah,
it's so much more empowering to think like that. So
absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today?
Mm. The one thing that I would say is that if you're not changing it, you're choosing it.
So true.
And so if something is not going the way that you would want it to in your life, whether it is in your business, maybe in your family life, maybe in your personal life, whatever it is, if something is not going the way that you want and you find yourself complaining about it and almost ruminating on it, you're actually choosing that thing, as difficult as that might be to appreciate sometimes. And so if we can have that awareness again, okay, I'm choosing to do this. So why am I choosing to do this? What secondary gain am I getting here? And Brits love to complain about the weather and things like that. You know, it's very much in our culture to complain about things. And so what benefit am I getting from complaining about this thing and not actually doing something to change it? If it's within my control, why am I not changing it? And take some inventory of that. You know, do I get some benefit from moaning to my friends about this thing that just isn't working for me? Do I get that rush of stress hormones by focusing on that thing? And get honest with yourself. Is that what you really want? If it is, okay. If it's not and you want something different, okay, make some notes. What can I do differently? Seek out the help of people like yourself and myself as well. Get some insights that might take the blinkers off for you.
Those are great questions. So my last question for you is, where can people find you online if they would like to learn more about you or your work, or just to connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you. My main website now is stuartwademedia.com. So that's all one word. And in terms of social media as well, I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, but it predominantly is LinkedIn nowadays, where I spend most of my time. So any of those channels you'll find me on. But if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, my email address is stuart@themindcoach.co.uk.
Fantastic. Stuart, thank you so much for sharing all those insights and tips with us. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you for having me, Claudia. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too. So take care and talk soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.